My friends, welcome back. I hope you're all doing very well. This is my Yeti SB140 and I'm afraid to say it has suffered some cosmetic damage. When I filmed the video talking about all the gear that I take with me when I ride and document the best mountain bike trails in the UK, I had this bike propped up against what can only be described as a little pile of rubble. Of course, it fell over and this is the result. If we just take a closer look here, you can see the extent of the damage. There are so many of these little scratches all the way down and this major problem here. This has actually been taken all the way down to the raw carbon, so this needs a fix. And I think I found the solution. Now, I should point out that at no point do I think this is going to be as good as what the professionals can do. But with some household cleaning products, some polish and some touch-up paint that's been matched to the colour of this bike, I think I can get it pretty good. So this is how I'm going to go about doing this. First of all, I'm going to clean the area. Now they do say that you need to use isopropyl alcohol. I haven't got any of that, so what I'm using is Jack's window cleaning spray and some microfiber towels, because in my mind they're exactly the same thing. The next thing I'm going to do is I noticed there were a few burrs left from the scratches, so I'm going to use this really fine sandpaper just to sort of chisel them away and get it as smooth as possible before I start applying the paint. So this is the paint in question. It's from G Paint. My bike's in the colour Smoke, and G Paint manufactures touch-up paint for Yetis in the colour Smoke. In fact, I had a brief look at their website and it turns out they manufacture touch-up paints for all different types of factory colours for all different types of bikes. So if you have some little chips and little scratches on your bike that you think need touching up, I won't recommend them just yet because I haven't actually applied it yet. But if it turns out well, go and have a look at them. Now the paint dries in 30 minutes, but I'm going to give it a full 24 hours before I apply this Muck Off Miracle Shine, just to hopefully remove any imperfections, smooth out the surface, make it really shiny, look new effectively. Hopefully it turns out well. The thing is, I know that this isn't going to be a professional fix. All I'm worried about here is noticing it. If I don't notice it, if I don't know it's there, then I'm happy. That's all I'm after with this. It's interesting, even when you put the spray on and give it a quick wipe, the scratches almost disappear. So that's what I'm hoping the polish is going to do once I've applied the colour, just to remove any of those imperfections. It's certainly not something that I think I'm 100% comfortable doing, but it's got to be done. It hurts my soul to see my bike like this. As far as the little burrs go on the scratches, it's actually not that bad. It's almost as if once I apply the paint and fill in some of these scratches, I think it'll be quite smooth. So perhaps I don't actually need to use the sandpaper. There's nothing that's jumping out at me here. Perhaps just a little bit there, maybe. Just got to be careful not to overdo it. Otherwise you could make things worse. I think I'm going to leave that. Okay, it's time to apply the paint. I've actually snapped off the nib of the paintbrush, on purpose actually, just so I can get quite a lot of control as to where the paint goes. I don't want to splash it around everywhere, I just want it on the scratches. That's all I'm after here. So that's what I'm going to do. The paint definitely smells slightly nail polish-like. But I suppose it's perhaps got some of that enamel in it. I don't really understand, but it definitely smells like you can put it on your nails. I'll be honest, the more I put this on, the more I realise it's perhaps not the same shade as my bike. So with this paint, what happens is the heavier sediments will dry and fall to the bottom. I've done it on this bit here. That is completely the same colour as my frame. I actually dabbed it with a bit of my dirty jumper and it completely blended in. So I'm hoping that once this fully dries, it will go a little bit lighter, and once I've polished it all out, it will be noticeable, but I think that should keep me happy. Okay, so it's now been about 25, maybe 30 minutes, and I don't know about you, but I think that's looking pretty good. It's definitely drying very well. The colour is blending more. I can still see the scratches, but I was never bothered about getting rid of the scratches. It was just more getting rid of that really visible element that the scratches were there. We'll see what it's like when the polish is on tomorrow. Hopefully that will just take the edge off things. We'll have to give it 24 hours to find out. Okay, so it's now been a full 24 hours after I applied the touch-up paint, and I've got to say, it's not perfect by any means, but I am quite impressed. So the paint has now fully dried, it's fully cured, it is rock hard. It's going to take a lot to get that paint off. And it's almost as if the paint has actually sort of seeped into these deeper scratches. It's worked really well up at the top and sort of down in the middle. There's still the visibility of some major scratches down at the bottom. Yes, the paint isn't 100% the same color as the frame, but as a touch-up paint, as a simple job that you can do at home to cover up some major damage, let's be honest, that's pretty good, and I'm quite happy with that. I think the beauty of this is this. I will always know those scratches are there. I know exactly how it happened. I know how sad I was when it happened. I've now fixed it to a point where I will start to forget they're there. That's the beauty of it. I'm now about 10 feet or so away from the bike, and I can hardly tell those scratches there at all. I can see more of my actual fingerprints, I think, on the frame than I can of the scratches. Now, the polish. Now, the aim with this is to simply just give the paintwork a shine, a gloss, try to unify the touch-up paint with the paint that's already on the frame. I'm going to be using Muck Off Miracle Shine. I'm going to start with a couple of coats and see how that goes. Maybe I'll need to do a couple more. Hopefully, I can get a really good finish on it. So polish is obviously polish. I don't think there's any right or wrong way of doing it. I've just got to make sure that when I apply it, I wait for enough time for the polish to buff out, which is why I'm going to be using two microfiber cloths, one to actually apply the polish, the other one to buff it out, just so that I'm not reapplying the polish that I'm just trying to buff out. In terms of the amount that I need to put on, I'm not too sure. I'm just going to give it a slight dollop. Is probably the professional term. Just dab it on. Now, I have read that when people use Muck Off Miracle Shine, they tend to find that it doesn't sort of haze over as much as they were expecting it to, as it says on the bottle. So I'm prepared for the fact that this might not haze over as I'm expecting it to. I'm expecting it to go, you know, pretty white and cloudy before I start buffing it out. I'm going to give it 30-45 seconds. If it doesn't do anything, then I'll start buffing it out and then reapplying and buffing and so on. Okay, I've given it about a minute. I can definitely actually start to see now that it is hazing over. So I'm going to start buffing that all out. Oh, that is shiny up there. Woo-hoo. Now, I'm not expecting any miracles. Polish is polish, isn't it? It's not going to get rid of major scratches like that. Maybe little ones, but I'm really just trying to add a lot of sheen to this in the hope of reducing the contrast from the touch-up paint to the original paintwork on the frame. And I think a couple of coats will be needed. That is silky smooth. That's really nice to the touch. And it is making a difference on the scratches as well. It's just blending them out ever so slightly in a really, really nice way. That has actually made a bigger difference than I thought it would. That's really good. It's working. So that's now 3 coats of the polish, and as you can see, it has added that really nice sheen and gloss to the bottom of the down tube, to the point where it does blend in the paint ever so slightly. It's subtle, but it does make a difference. Especially as you walk around, the way that the sunlight changes on the bike almost makes it invisible from some angles. There are, of course, other polishes that you might argue are better, like T-cut. I know you can get specific T-cuts for all different types of greys. But for what I've got, the Muck Off Miracle Shine, it's done a pretty good job. So from what at the time felt like the end of the world, from using just simple household cleaning products, a cheap £20 touch-up paint and some polish, I've got this to a point now where I'm pretty happy with it. The only thing I'm not 100% happy with is the colour of the touch-up paint. It was said to be an exact match to the paint of the frame. Yeti approved. It's just not quite the same. I think if I was to do this again, I would be persuaded to try and add just a little bit of white paint to the touch-up paint because it is slightly too dark. I think if I added a little bit of white, it might just lighten the colour slightly and make it blend a little bit better. I would also be inclined to try and fill in some of the bigger chunks that are missing out the paintwork, the bits that have been taken down to the raw carbon. Of course, I'd have to use filler, and I don't really know how to use filler. I've never used it before. Perhaps that's something I'll do in the future. We'll have to see. But for a home fix with the tools that I've had, I am quite happy with it. If you know of any other ways or have experience in touching up pretty bad paint scratches on bike frames, then please do let me know in the comments. I'm not the most experienced when it comes to this type of thing, so any help is appreciated. As always, thanks for coming along, and I'll see you for the next adventure. Scotland.